Gather round for the Oke Farm Pondcast with Doug Davis.
All right. So, for those of y'all who are watching us on YouTube, we are in the glorious sunshine out here, technically honoring the name of our program, the Pondcast. We have a pond right here behind us, and Curtis actually came up with the name, and it's my understanding, Curtis, when you were like thinking about this, you were visualizing doing a lot of these like at this location, whether it's here next to the fire pit or right up at the clubhouse and commercial kitchen. But
there is a pond right outside of your cabin where we normally...
True, fair enough.
That's not on the camera. You can't see it.
Yeah.
So hopefully this will provide some context to the name. People are probably
right.
wondering, like, why do you call it a pondcast? Well, it's because we're surrounded by ponds.
And so, again, for those of y'all who can see, I mean, we've got... And for those of y'all who can't, I'll explain it. We've got behind us, you're looking at white and red muscadine grapes. Then we've got, you can't see it as well, but we've got blueberries behind there. And then we've got more blackberries. We've got our composting pile way in the back. You probably won't even be able to see it. But yeah, we're coming, this is the heart of what we call the standing gardens. And this was our initial village, the very first phase. This is where Curtis and Jenny live. This is where, just over here to the side, we've got our clubhouse and commercial kitchen. And this is where it all started. I mean, this was ground zero. We now have, as we've talked about a little bit, the orchard over this way, and then the pasture way back there. But so that's where we're hailing from today, but that's not what I wanted to talk about. Now, I want you to be honest with me. We always are surprised when we get started.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes I'll think a little bit ahead of time, like, what do I want to talk about? What am I inspired by? I did something today that I've never done. Did you see my Instagram post?
No, I didn't.
So you're completely surprised.
Completely surprised. So,
today, after a meeting, I started prep. So the reason why Curtis and I are here tonight is at probably in the next 20 minutes or so, we're going to start having people kind of mill in. We're doing one of our potlucks tonight, and so I was fixing something that's near and dear to my heart, and I thought it would be fun to capture that moment and show kind of some of the ingredients and everything else. And so I made an Instagram post. And I titled the post something to the effect of collision of food, community, and the Pondcast. And so it's this idea of, we have lots of different mediums that we're working from now. We have a newsletter that we put out to the general public. We have a newsletter to our owners. We have social media accounts, we have YouTube, we have a podcast. And so tonight is the first time we've taken a couple of those mediums and we've kind of collided them and put them all together.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, in that Instagram post, I said what I thought maybe we could talk about tonight. And since you have no idea,
okay,
let me break it to you. So before I tell you the specifics, I want to take you back. I've got, I go back to probably 1991, maybe 92. And I'm with my dad, who, plays guitar here for us at the events and stuff. I'm with my little brother and with my uncle, and we're in Costa Rica, and we're on a surf safari. And this was back before Costa Rica is what it is today, where, it was very rural where we were at. We were literally in the jungle. And there was a little village, and whenever it came time to eat, you had basically three options. You had gallo pinto y carne, which is with beef, gallo pinto huevos for breakfast, and gallo pinto pollos with chicken.
Yeah.
That was it. That was the only thing to eat. And the good news was, I loved gallo pinto, which is a speckled color pinto bean. And so ever since then, I have been just in love with dried beans. And so I've talked about with some of our owners, I love dried beans. And so I'm year 5 here at the farm, and this is the first year that we've produced, now not at scale, but we've produced actual dried beans. Tonight, I have the first batch of dried beans ever cooked, I think, here on the farm at Okefenokee. And so that inspired me to think it might be fun to spend a little bit of time talking about what it's like to live here at the farm, to be inspired by ingredients, to talk about maybe some of the things that that you and Jenny have discovered, and kind of this idea of this interaction of food, and the interplay of food to the life experience here. So what do you think? Is that going to be good?
Oh, I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay. Well, I've got some thoughts, but why don't you respond to this idea so they don't have to listen to me talk too much?
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is that, I mean, that was one of the driving reasons that we moved out here. And if people watch the episode with Jenny and I, and, we talked about just, we were just getting tired of the same old thing. It's like, what are we going to have for dinner? And then you would go to the grocery store and you couldn't find fresh ingredients. I mean, it was getting hard to find like good lettuce and just like normal staples. And, the more we educated ourselves on food, it became more and more important for us to get closer to the source. And, if you live in a city, you only have so many options. Like there are some co-ops and some farms that will do some deliveries, but and we actually experimented with some of those, but, nothing that like really got us inspired or solved the problem.
Right.
And so moving out here, it opened up this whole new, landscape, and this whole new world around food, primarily. And at first, when we were first here, it was just produce. We didn't have the protein plan in place, right? So we're still having to get protein somewhere else. But we started to learn how to cook around the seasons of what was in harvest. And so now we're coming up on 2 years that we've been here, and starting to see how that kind of flows throughout the year, and what happens is certain times of year you may eat, a lot of something, and then we've gotten in the habit of freezing some. Yeah. I wouldn't say we freeze a lot. We don't can a lot. We do. If you went to our house, you would see some canned stuff, and you definitely would see some frozen stuff. And part of that's actually going in one of my dishes tonight. But it was just, now instead of becoming like the problem that requires a solution every day, what are you going to have for dinner? What are you going to eat? It now becomes like just this beautiful experience. The meal times here at the farm are something to be cherished and honored. And it's like the intentionality put into what we make. And I mean, I would say our trips to the grocery store have slowly over the months started to become fewer and fewer. We've kind of, figured out some of the things that, obviously are not produced here at the farm that we need to get, which is not that much these days now, especially with the protein plan. But it's an experimentation process. Like, for example, tonight, I've never. Do you remember the Southern author, Louis Grizzard?
No.
You never heard of Louis Grizzard?
I don't think so.
Okay, so he's kind of a comedian, and he used to write, and there's a point to the story, but he wrote this book called Real Men Don't Eat Quiche. Have you ever heard that book?
No.
It was one of my dad's like favorite things, like to say, like if we ever went to a fancy restaurant or a buffet or something and they had quiche, he'd always look at me and he'd go, "Curtis, remember, real men don't eat quiche," And that was Louis Grizzard. Some of our viewers may be familiar with who he is. That has always like stuck in my head, and it's probably kept me from ever making a quiche before.
That's fun.
Well, you know what?
Come on.
I got 2 quiches coming tonight.
I love it.
Never made a quiche. I've got one that's got our eggs, our bacon, and some Swiss cheese in it. Gosh. Crustless. These are crustless quiches that are made in the Instant Pot. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So we love the Instant Pot. It's just convenient.
Yeah.
It's kind of a shortcut to cooking some stuff. And so I've got one of those. And then I pulled, speaking of, freezing some of our other stuff, I pulled out some of our broccoli.
Okay.
Which there's no broccoli right now.
Right.
Probably a couple months removed from having broccoli. I pulled out some of our frozen broccoli, which Jenny usually keeps around for making smoothies and whatnot. And I've got a broccoli and cheddar cheese quiche tonight. So there's an example of like, and it was fun, to like experiment with it. I actually made one yesterday to make sure it would come out, all right. And then what the viewers won't see is in about 15 minutes, all the other residents are going through the same experimentation process. We'll have, and we've kind of talked about it. I mean, it's not a full-on competition, but it's kind of like, how can I at least improve upon what I brought last time?
Yeah.
And there's so many options.
Yeah.
There's so many varieties of things that you can do here at the farm. So
yeah, what you hit on, my passion for cooking is probably one of the main impetus for me to be here and developing the farm. Like it's always been a part of my DNA. So my love for cooking certainly predates being here. But one of the things I've discovered about being here, and you kind of touched on this, is, and I've known this a little bit about different areas of my life, maybe music or creativity in other areas. But one thing that became clear to me being here at the farm is I really thrive on a limited palette. Mm-hmm. And so in the early days, as you were describing when we were here at the farm, especially over where my cabin is, and I have a much smaller garden area, there was just a limited number of things. I remember, I chuckle at this, there was a point in time when I feel like I didn't eat anything but fennel. Mm-hmm. And I figured out how to do all kinds of stuff with fennel.
Right.
And absent that experience, if we were in St. Augustine or something like that where you used to live, mm-hmm. I mean, chances are I never pick up fennel at the grocery store. Mm-hmm. And chances are I fall into a routine or a pattern of just doing the same stuff over and over again. And one of the things that you said that's exciting to me is like not having access, but having seasons, mm-hmm. not always having, even within a season, all of the food ripe or whatever the case is. Those limitations inspire me to do things, to taste things, mm-hmm. to create things that probably otherwise I wouldn't do.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you guys are kind of the same way.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about a little bit last time. It's like when you're thinking about a continuum about good and bad, forgetting good and bad and it just being, what is, and embracing what is and seeing where it goes. And so that's one of the things too that I just love about being here is like working from the ingredients that we have, not trying to be too grandiose, but just playing with it and not being scared. And I think that's another thing. Maybe we could spend a few minutes, because if I'm out there listening to this and I'm trying to visualize coming to the potluck dinner tonight, I mean, we've got some really talented people here, mm-hmm. like that are cooking some great things. Yeah. But at the same time, we've got some people here that aren't bringing like super sophisticated things either. Yeah. They're just maybe pickling some of the vegetables, or they're making salads and stuff. And so I think what we're talking about is like maybe where you and I are or where we're going, it may be a little bit more intimidating for some people, but I would encourage folks like, don't allow perfection to get in the way of good enough. Just start tasting seasonal things. Yeah. Just start tasting it, and you don't have to make a souffle or a quiche. Just cook it or eat it raw or something. I mean, because that's where I think that's where your taste buds really begin to develop. Yeah. And then you can advance. But I mean, this whole idea of seasonality is such a beautiful part of our existence.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, there's probably not many farmers watching this, but long-time farmers watching this are probably like, well, yeah, of course, right. Like that's the way we're intended to eat.
Exactly.
But for people who grew up in the city and getting all their food from the grocery store, and where not all of your produce and fruit's coming from local farms, it's coming from all over the world,
Right.
to make sure that you've got every option available every day of the year. I do like this idea of like having some limitations on your palate, and I mean, it can be done no matter where you live.
Right.
You can search out local farms, and you can identify what's growing in season around wherever you live, and try to eat what's in season around you. And here's the thing about it: you think, well, gosh, that would get boring. Well, like, no, because right around the time that you start to like get tired of eating whatever it is, it's a whole new season, something else.
Season, yeah.
And so, like, right now we're getting some incredible melons.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I've got some. I just had one of our little baby cantaloupes yesterday.
One of the white ones?
No, this one was actually, well, it's a white.
Oh, that's
skin,
a honeydew. Yeah.
But it has a orange inside to it.
Oh, okay.
And it's, since we're growing these old heirloom varieties, they don't have the deep sugary flavors. It has a hint of sugar that's so refreshing, and I like to put them in they're about this big. For those on the camera can see me, but those on the podcast, I'm showing imagine like an inflated softball.
Yeah.
And I love to keep them in the refrigerator, slice them, pull the seeds out, and then just take the spoon and eat them almost like ice cream, when they're cold out of the refrigerator. So refreshing.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds different than what we've got. We've got a watermelon. Looks like a watermelon on the outside, but it's orange on the inside.
Yeah.
Okay. Absolutely delicious. And we've got a honeydew that is white on the outside and white on the inside.
Oh, I've not had that yet.
And it has the most incredible flavor to it. It's almost like a vanilla coconut flavor.
Yum!
And a melon.
I want one of those.
Yeah. And so of course we got all the great summer squash and zucchini.
Yes.
Right now. And
I've got to interrupt you for just a second, because I've got to do a shout out to my family. They have fallen in love. They can't get enough spaghetti squash. I mean, they have absolutely fallen in love with it. And so for those in the audience who want a really easy dish, let's make sure and go back to where you were going, because I don't want to lose this, but I got to drop this in here.
Yeah.
When my daughter and my wife were here several days ago for one of our events, I took... Well, tomatoes it's so hot now, the tomatoes are kind of declining.
Yeah.
But at the time, we were just bursting at the seam of tomatoes.
Yeah.
So I took a lot of tomatoes and I roasted them slowly with some onions. And then I put the spaghetti squash in the oven at 375, cut in half, face down for, probably 45 minutes to an hour. Took them out, and I didn't pull the squash out of the thing, but I left it whole. And then I took the tomato, basically almost like a marinara, and put it in the middle of that with some fresh olive oil. And oh my gracious, my family can't get enough of it. So, but I mean, look, we've been, as a family, I mean, I've been married for 27 years now, and we've never had spaghetti squash like that before. And so, but it comes back to, I was limited on ingredients when they were here, and it just was inspired to do that, and now it's turned into a tradition.
Yeah.
So, so you were talking about the melons and the squashes and the...
Yeah. Well, if I'm not sure where else I was going with
I blew that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I mean, we hadn't even touched on the proteins. We actually added a new flavor of sausage to the lineup of sausage that we have made out of our Méchant pigs.
Yeah.
And so we just got a huge restockment of that, and it's a pineapple pepper jack flavor. Have you tried it yet? I know you brought some.
I tried just ever so little piece of it, and so it wasn't enough, I don't think, to really get the full flavor of it. It was not overwhelming. The little bit that I had, you could taste it, but it wasn't like it. Sometimes when you get the some of the flavored sausages that have ingredients in them, it's just like overwhelming. This one felt a little mild from what I could tell.
Yeah,
but
it is. It's not overpowering at all. It's actually really, really nice.
So I wanted to go back to this idea, and I'm going to I'm going to restrain myself because I don't want to get, number one, I don't want to get too far out over my skis and act like I know a lot more than I actually do, because I don't. But over the last few years, I've been studying this concept about, it's kind of, let me liken it to this idea of circadian biology. The same way that our bodies need the sunrise to wake our bodies up and to set the rhythm of all of our internal organs and everything, and the sun to go down. This idea of food also being a stimulant or a barometer for our bodies as well. And so if you believe that, which I do, and you begin to kind of play around with that thought, what would happen if we are eating food from Alaska all year long and from Chile and from like we're not eating seasonal, we're not eating locally. And even if we're eating whole foods, we're like, I feel like that's got to be confusing for our bodies. And it's because we live in such luxury, everybody in America does these days. We have access to food from everywhere and plenty of it. So that was just another thought. I don't really have anywhere to go with that other than to reinforce the fact that I think being here at the farm, eating seasonally, eating locally, which again, if you're not at the farm, you can do that as well. Even though I don't pretend to understand all the biodynamic reasons why that's good or bad for your body. Intuitively, I know it's just got to be, right? Like it has to be.
Yeah, and I would even go so far as to say that, look, if you just, we don't really get too much into, national and global topics, but I think this one's worthy of touching on a little bit, because I think what you just pointed out plays into it, and that's the overall health of Americans, right? Like, we have, if you just look at the studies that are done and compare like healthcare costs and quality across countries globally, we pay the most, we should have the highest level of care. We have, easily one of the highest standards of living in the world, and yet our life expectancy is actually going down, and it has for a few years now. After 60, 70 years of it going up, it's now plateaued and actually has retreated some. There's lots of opinions on what exactly that one, what the cause is. And I would suggest that it's probably not one cause. It's probably a symphony of different variables, with one being how we eat. And I think, this idea of eating food that comes from all over the country, it's one of those things that may sound great in theory, but we probably don't know like what sort of impact it's having on our body. And all I can speak from is my experience. And in the last 2 years of eating as much food as I can that is grown right here on the farm, I measure my health outcomes. I get blood work done. Mark Hyman has this thing called Function Health, which we've talked about. It's something that I've signed up for since I've been here, and it's given me more information than I ever got going to a doctor. My health is getting better. My biological age is getting younger. And compared to my actual age. Like all of the markers are improving. I'm sure there's more than just a food aspect of that, right? It's quality of life. It's
the stress we talked about, your blood pressure going down when you're
being
here, and
all those things. But I would just say if there's someone listening out there and you are concerned about those things, again, whether it's at the farm or at home, I would encourage you to get more information about that, and make sure you're monitoring markers that normally are not a part of a blood test that's issued by a physician. They're only giving you a very small sliver of all of the data that you can potentially get through lab work. So
Well, it's this beautiful. What you're describing is you're taking responsibility for your health. We have, many of us as Americans, I think, especially our age, we have in many cases abdicated our medical outcomes to the larger medical industry and our food to the USDA and the, you know what I mean? Like, in other words, we've grown up just listening to all of these things, and whether they were accidental, malicious, or whatever the case is, ultimately we have one life. We have ourselves, we have our families to be concerned about and to care for. And we're responsible. At the end of the day, it's not good enough to say that I'm doing this because I was told to. And what you're describing is you've taken your health and you've taken responsibility for it. And I think, a lot of the people here at the farm, whether it's specifically about health, nutrition, quality of life. I mean, we talked about last time, who knows the reasons why a lot of people have come here, but people are taking responsibility. And at the end of the day, that's all you can do is be curious, be diligent, and take responsibility. Don't blame other people. Like look things right in the face and go after them. So with this, we kind of ended up a little bit on this idea of nutrition and health. I would be remiss, I think, because there's not a lot of people listen to us now, but maybe one day they'll go back and listen to this. And I mean, you and I grew up in the 80s, basically. We're 80s kids. And it was when the microwave was born, and microwave burritos and frozen pizzas and like all of the what I call kind of convenience foods. And so even though I was very fortunate, we rejected a lot of that stuff from early on. The reality of it is it's become part of the fabric of our culture. And the one thing I would maybe leave everybody with is I think there's a misconception, and I bumped into this. I got to share the stage one time with a couple of different people at a Bitcoin conference a few years ago. And we were talking about food, and it was during a question and answer thing. And one of the things that came up then, and I think comes up a lot, is this idea. I think people are under the mistaken understanding that convenience food is inexpensive. And the reality of it is it's not.
No.
I think people say that as a way to justify what they're doing. But the reality of it is I would encourage people who utilize convenience food, whether that's convenience food from the grocery store or going by the Jiffy store or the fast food or whatever else. Like, if you were to really track your food, what you're spending one way versus going to the grocery store, forget even the farm at Okefenokee, just go to the grocery store and buy real food. Buy some lettuce, some beef and chicken and some eggs and like real food, and then begin to divide up the number of times that you're eating from the real food versus the convenience food. I guarantee you, if it's not 2-to-1, it's pretty close to that, the expense of convenience food. And the health outcomes that you'll get from eating real food are incalculable. So, I get a little preachy right there, I know, but I think I think so many people believe that it's cheaper just to go to the Jiffy store or to go wherever else and buy that. And not only are you not saving money, but the health outcomes that you're creating are even that much more expensive, and they're taking time from your life.
I mean, I would be remiss after listening to you share that if I didn't mention the beautiful meditation that you wrote and distributed to residents this week on our relationship with Trinity Rescue Mission, called Building Abundance, and talking about the strategy of the farm so that we're staying ahead of the growth of the community and what is produced here. And a very beautiful partnership that we have with Trinity Rescue Mission, where that food is then they help harvest it. They're out here in a true partnership, and then that excess food goes back to feed countless people in Jacksonville, the
Yep.
homeless shelter there, and that is a long-term partnership that we've established with them, which ultimately will benefit downtown Folkestone and the community of Charlton County. I have no doubt at
For
some
sure.
point in the future, and it's this concept of yes, we're not just going to do it for the people here. We understand how important it is. And if there is excess, and we certainly have excess now, it's going to be shared and put into those who can benefit from it the most.
Yeah.
And, I suspect that there will be studies that take a close look and measure mental health outcomes as a result of feeding people who are less privileged good whole foods rather than this idea of eating conveniently, eating low cost.
Right.
And it's my hope that the results of those studies and the project that we have with Trinity Rescue Mission will benefit a lot of people.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
So I'll close with one last thought. We keep throwing these one last thoughts out, but so I guess that's good. When we gather for our potluck tonight, each of us has brought something grown here from the farm. I brought the beans. You got eggs and broccoli and other stuff. And one of the fun things to think about, it occurred to me while you were kind of sharing a few minutes ago about the meditations and stuff, and I didn't mention this in there, but every time that we partake of the food ourselves and we do it in community, the end of that doesn't die with the ingestion of that food. It's not just doing it in community and building those relationships, but also, if you think about it, by nature of the regenerative agricultural process, each harvest is perpetuating higher levels of nutrient, organics, and other things in the soil. And so not only are we taking produce and taking things from the farm, but by virtue of that cycle, we're actually giving back as well. And so it's a as I'm inferring, it's a virtuous cycle.
Yeah.
And so food is a big part of what we do here, and I'm glad that we got a chance to talk a little bit about it here, kind of scratch the surface. So
It couldn't have worked out any better.
Yeah.
I think it was a great topic. And I am going to reserve, I'm going to say that you in your, in the piece that you wrote, you mentioned a term, regenerative economics.
Yeah.
And I don't want to talk about that now, but I think that's a whole episode.
Yeah, I agree. I thought about that as well. Yeah.
So.
Awesome. Well, shall we close?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of good options. I'm going to say abundance. And
Oh, I like that. I'm going to say, gosh, it's always I make this so much harder than it should be. I'm going to say quiche, and I'm out.
All right. Thanks.
All right.